Hi guys, how are you all doing? So welcome to this video, which is going to be a tune-in with Michael Collins. So to those of you that don't know me, my name is Angela and I am a teacher. I've worked in the intuitive arts for many years, and I felt Michael Collins' presence over the last 2 weeks. Just to let you know, this is just going to be a very relaxed video. I've got some information that he's already brought through to me, and the way I work with spirit is it's very grounded, it's very practical, it's in the here and now. But I feel his message is one of truth. It's about standing up for the truth, and I feel that he's come through to me because it's something that I work on. Anybody that works with spirit is working with to bring through the truth. So so where to begin really? In the background I've got some beautiful Celtic harp music. It's by Jonathan Van Ziegler, I think he's called. So I tried to put on some kind of restful Irish Celtic music, and I found some chanting music and it was like, no, that's not gonna work. So there's something about the energy, the vibration of the harp, and also my bells it was like a no. It was like, it's gentle sounds. So I'm just going to bring in the tuning fork now to just create, I've created the atmosphere here. I don't know if you can feel it, but I certainly can. And this is my favourite tuning fork because it's on 528 hertz, it's the universal energy of love. So if you ever want to try and bring yourself back into balance, this is a great tuning fork to buy for yourself. So where do we begin, guys? So probably just to go through a little overview really. With spirit, I'll see things and I'll hear things. I see things like pictures. So I think what I probably need to clarify is what this is not. It's not going to be a history lesson. I've been guided by spirit not to read anything, which I'll get into in a little bit once I start, and I just want to work on the energy that I've received so it's clear. You're just going to have to trust me on that. If this is something that is not for you don't believe in, I'm not here to convince you. That's not my job. It's not about approval or disapproval. It's just for people that want to listen, and you will know if this is for you or not. You'll just get a vibe with me with this video. Also, when it comes to discussing people like family members, I've been told that that's a no-go zone, and I really agree with this because that is not how I work. You don't summon up a spirit. This is just my own belief of how I've learned to work with any form of tapping into energies. Is you have to have permission, and it's probably why I wouldn't class myself as a working medium, as in that's just what I do, because spirit, God, is in all things most powerfully and most obviously in nature and the laws of nature, which are always trying to balance. And I feel like there's a real strong connection with nature with Michael Collins. I'm just getting told not to use my full name. It's like, we're over the pleasantries now through the chats. So that is an area that I won't be going in, because sometimes if you're doing a reading or a connection, the loved one will really want to say a message about somebody, or they'll want to give them a message about somebody else, and this is not why he's come through. He's come through to talk about truth and honouring your own truth, and also to shed some light around Ireland, and some of you sent questions. So if you want to look him up in history, if you're unaware, which is great, please do. He's known as a fighter for independence in Ireland, and as we know, this is a very emotive subject to do with England and Ireland. And I was born in the UK to Irish parents, so I have seen both sides of everything we all know. it's a very, very, very sensitive subject. So I will be compassionate towards that. But I will say I don't think that's what this focus is going to be on. I'm just going to bring through what wants to be said. But when they are over there, they get to see everything that they did before they, when they cross over. That's what I've always seen. So Michael Collins, he was born on the 16th of October 1890, and he died on the 22nd of August 1922. So that makes him 31 when he died. So starting off, where have you gone? It's like, there you are, you've come back in the reflection in the light. But this is quite interesting today. So to give you a little bit of background about him, this is how I was shown him. I obviously had to look for a photograph, and he's very recognised as being in army uniform because he fought on the battle for the cause, which was all about, it was fighting against Britain. I'm just hearing, like, we know there was bloodshed on either side, and I think he's going to talk about, he's not going to go into the ins and outs, but I feel like there's a lesson here. It's about learning from the past and not mistaking, not repeating the mistakes in the same way. And we all know it intellectually, but are we living it? Are we living it in our beliefs? So where was I? He's going to keep me on track. So a couple of things. So the first thing was, I was in the supermarket a while back, and was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? I don't have to be specific about this. And I saw a copy of an Irish paper, and I don't buy newspapers anymore because I don't like to, utilise paper. If I can help it, I'll read stuff online, and I'm very selective about reading what's in the news. So I got this Irish paper, and there was an article in it in the paper, and I saw him, and I thought, whoa. Now I need to add here a couple of things. So my own mother is from West Cork and grew up a couple of miles from where Michael Collins was born. Also, I lived a mile away from where his physical birthplace was. Now, call this ignorance maybe, but I never really paid attention. I knew of him and I knew a little bit about him, but it was almost like, obviously they've got a statue in honour of him in Clonakilty, and at the moment in the world that we're in, there are a lot of controversial situations around history and how we deal with history, but I was guided not to read too much because he said to me there's inflections in every story. But he's not against freedom of speech, he's really for it. So I saw this article and I skimmed over it, and I just thought there's something in this, because I felt really not obligated, but I felt really pulled to read this newspaper or buy this newspaper. So I kept it, I had it, put it away, thought nothing of it. A day later, I go to my local, I've got where I live, there's lots of lovely bookshops, and I love books, I love reading. And I've developed a later on in life love of English. And I didn't know why I was going into town. And then when I went into my local, it's a stationery, well-known stationers, and we've still got one of those stores in where I live, which is quite unusual because I thought they'd gone bust. Anyway, I went in looking for something which was more metaphysical based. And then I saw a map of Ireland. I thought, I've got to buy this. I just need a map of Ireland, and I don't know why. And I was thinking about maybe putting it in a frame. I had an idea for it. And because when we used to go to Ireland every year with my mum and dad, we'd have the old maps. I mean, this is before phones or anything, analogue phones. So we would always do the drive up to Sligo and then the drive down to Cork and stop off in Mayo and then see people or wherever, and we'd drive. My dad, who drove for a living, would then drive all the way around Ireland. I mean, when I think back, I think he was just exhausted. So there was something, a memory about having a map. So anyway, then I'm here and I just felt like this presence around me that was very gentle. So, I've got to say, he's already here. I'm not going to do any ritual to bring him in. He's already here. He's been waiting patiently. And even at some point this morning, so last week, he came through with quite a bit of information, and then he said, right, I'm going to step back now. Very respectful of my energy. Real true gentleman when it comes towards women, especially. And he stepped back and he said, I will come back in 5 days' time. And I was like, right, okay, that gives me time to, work around things. So he kept saying to me this message, which was, look at what is happening right in front of your face. And I felt this was about in Ireland. It was a symbolic message. Look at what is happening right in front of your face. Your faces, like, it's staring you in the face type thing. And we're having a lot of issues in the moment in the UK around politics. And I don't get the Irish media here. Unless I go searching for it, we don't get it. We don't, unless it's something really major that affects the UK. That's when we hear about it. So then, no, he said, no, keep looking right in front of your face. And then, so I looked at my map. And then I realised it had his name on the map. And I was like, right, okay, so I'm not imagining things. Because all mediums will go through a period where they'll think, or intuitive teachers, I'm sure I'm making this up. And actually it says it includes the Wild Atlantic Way on here as well. But I can't... the symbology of the castle, and the castle Caroline Mice talks about, our castle is us, our energy system, our body, our physical, almost like temple that we live in. So that was one of the main things. But then he came through to me like this. So he's showing me two very different sides to him, the man in the army regalia and the uniform. And what was ironic this morning was that I was trying to I had to iron everything. It was like an iron shirt was so important. So I could, because you see, they'll give you signs and you'll get a real feel of the energy. And I have to say that his energy that's come through is really beautiful. He comes through like with a mentor energy as well. So there's that there. He's very poetic. He's a wordsmith. He likes to play with words. So if he hasn't written poetry, he has an interest in it. And he's giving a nod to James Joyce here. But the way he presented himself to me is if he sat in a library with books and he's reading, and in a way that he accesses his inner self is through the written word. It's a way that, if you could say, a man processes his feelings, even though that was after his time, if that makes sense. But he's saying no, there's actually there's truth to that, because it's gathering one's thoughts and putting them down on paper gives that clarity. So it just looks like we started now. So I'm just going to clear the desk. So there's a few signs as well that are linked to him that I got this morning, because I was cleaning anything that was mirrored in my house, and it was about looking at yourself in the mirror, facing yourself. Do you know who you are? So there's a message with that. And in the space of about 10 minutes, it was like the mirrored furniture was being cleaned. And then Man in the Mirror came on, the Michael Jackson song. And then there was another link to mirrors on watching the live TV or whatever it is. And I was like, okay, so this is linked to facing truths, like being able to look in the mirror and face yourself. So there's quite a few interesting facts about him. So I got guided by Spirit to look at the numbers. So I'm not a numerologist, but to look at the numbers. And when I broke down his birthday, he's a 26/8. So there's an amazing book that you can buy actually, which is by Dan Millman, which is The Life You're Born to Lead. Lead has come out. So he's a 26-8. He's an 8 life path. Now it's interesting because I'm an 8 life path as well. But what was interesting was when I looked at his death dates, they're exactly the same number. And what I got told was he came in with purpose. He knew exactly what he was meant to do. He was born with it. And he went out on a strong purpose. So he left a legacy. He left. And what I'm hearing is that the reason that people really revered and loved him was he stood up for what he believed in and he was not afraid of. He didn't have these, he was under no glamour or illusion about what the truth was. He knew what it was that he needed to face. I feel like he was very fearless. That's his energy. But that people, you see, this is a thing nowadays. We are so tuned in. We're like the psychic era. So we can feel it when somebody's lying now. We know. And I am being brought to a time where there was something about his strength and courage that made people feel safe. Now, again, he wasn't named Michael by any mistake. So Archangel Michael, when we think about him and we go back into all the text and the knowledge, whether they be biblical or otherwise, is that Archangel Michael stands for courage and strength and truth. And so he's saying to me, we're like the true blues. We're not afraid to stand up and to share and to talk. And because I was I'm going to not lie, I was a bit nervous about doing this video. And he said, no, I will guide you. I will hold your hand throughout the process. And it was done in a very respectful way. And then I just had to listen. But it's funny because he said to me the other day, I'm all ears. As much as I like to talk, I'm all ears. But he's saying it's a bit of a joke because all my friends that know me know I love to talk. But he's all ears, he's all about listening. So, which leads me on to, so just going back to the numbers and then I'll move on to more that he told me. So those on the 26-8 life path are here to work through issues of perfectionism, money, power and recognition, sharing their abundance in alignment with their highest vision and ideals in the service of others. And I mean, he was so a man of service. Since our life purpose poses specific challenges, the life of 26-8s reflects their conflicting drives and beliefs about money, power and high profile, and their innate idealism can tend to inhibit the personal power they are here to make manifest. Eventually, 26-8s stand up, assert themselves and gain recognition within their family and their community or in the world at large. So, I mean, he came in with purpose, guys, and he left with as much purpose. Yeah, okay, right. So I'm just going to bring up a few other things and where would you like me to start on the next bit? Okay. So it's about just bringing through his essence now. And I really want to talk about what he showed me and what he talked to me about. So his message is be wild and free and not let the so-called powers be. His message is about unification and truth and freedom and how they're all interlinked. And it's like be wild and free just as you were born to be. The short-term gain for long-term pain. And he had this innate ability to know his moral compass was very strong. And he's saying, not everybody will agree with me on this because he said, I did partake in bloodshed, but he said, I am here for the cause, which is the land. The land is the cause. And the land includes the people because nature, it's about going back to our true nature here, but understanding what that is. And the way that we go back to our true nature is to be in nature, is to be with the land and be at peace with the land. So he wants to be known as a statesman, for and foremost, a man of the land and surveyed it by hand. And it's where he truly found his solace in that, and his clan and his family. And he says to me, you know, the family and the band, it's like the band of brothers that knew him, are really the only people that really know him. I'm obviously connecting to a part of his soul that he wants to bring in, and he wants to talk and bring this known to whoever wants to listen. But he's saying that he's very protective over his family, and it goes both ways. He's very protective over them just as they are. Oh, and this is something that my friend told me as well. Apparently his family are releasing diaries next year, of his personal diaries. I don't know what's that's going to bring through. Maybe he might tell me, I don't know, whether it's personal. He's saying it's all timed perfectly. They know his family are very deeply connected to him, and they know him. They know, it's like they have a very strong moral compass as well, and they always know what to do, what is the right thing, and they stick by it. But he will not go there. That's not for public. It's not for public discussion, his family. If they want that, he respects that, but it's not what this video is about. The two people that he makes reference to is, he's mentioned the name Brid. I do feel that's linked into the family, so he's acknowledging that person. Again, they're in spirit, but also he's acknowledging a lady called Maureen. That was the first name that he gave me, but he said it was like a family friend. You know, like you go in, I always remember with my cousin once going into his granny's cottage because we knew that she had a chocolate cake, and he said, he was such a scamp. He said, if we go in there and we're really nice, she might give us a piece of chocolate cake. We went in there and she must have seen us coming. She knew what we were up to. But there's that kind of energy, but I feel like this is a lady, like a motherly energy that was connected to the family, that, you know, you can go in like an auntie or an uncle, but they're not a blood relative, but they're in the neighbourhood. And you'd go in and you'd have a piece of cake, they'd have something on the stove, or they'd make a fine cup of tea. There's that energy, there's very strong motherly energy. And I'm getting I don't know whether she was around the age of, I mean, she's in spirit now, but I don't know if she's around the age of 86 or 87, or that year is prominent for that lady, but those were the numbers that I heard around that. But he just wants to acknowledge her, because it's like a strong second nature, mothering energy, with a great deep respect, and wants to acknowledge her for instilling grace and virtues in everybody that she came, that she touched. So yes, going back to him and his energy, he's come through his very poetic, gentle side for me, because I feel that that's where he wants to, there's no illusion with this. It's how and he's not worried about how he's presented. It's how his message is coming through. It's on the energy and the vibration that he wants. He wants to take a pew. It's just like he plays with words all the time. Like I was in the supermarket and I was looking at chocolates and I was like, oh, I might get this one. And there's like one that was double the price, and it was like, only the best will do for a beautiful lady such as you. And it was like, I don't write poetry, guys. It's not something that I've ever done. But yeah, so that's the energy that I have been presented with. So some interesting links there to his numbers, because I could feel this. I just heard the message came in with strong purpose and went out with strong purpose. And I feel like he's come back to remind the Irish about who they really are as a collective, and to bring some home truths. So it might not all be sweetness and light, but do not give up the fight with all your might. It's like all these words are just coming through. Right, okay. So moving on now, let me just take a glass of water. Okay. He's just saying he was really fascinated with James Joyce and how, like, where did he get the ideas from? And yes, some of them would now be controversial in today's world, but it's literally like, where do you get this? Where does it come from? But it was in the rare moments, pensive moments that he had where he was in the stillness and he could write. That's when he used to find it very relaxing to write with words. Is there anything else you want to tell me about that? No, I just feel like I'm just going off daydreaming. It's just like I'm in a really happy place. That's like my place where I feel I can just be at peace with myself, is when I'm writing or when I am playing around with the use of words. Right, okay. So getting back to a few more in all seriousness. So why are you here? Why are you here? So he's saying, I'm here for the cause, which is the land. It was always about the land. Okay. Okay, I'm just pulling some cards here. So the main energies that are coming through here: integration, the mother of water, which is our feelings and it's bringing together and healing our emotions. Transformation, the three of integrity. So it's integration, healing emotions, transformation, integrity, son of fire, and two of change. And this is to do with Mother Earth, and it's to do with the yin and yang. It's to do with understanding the illusion of life. But also I feel like the Son of Fire is to understand why some of the things happened that they did. And I feel like no conversation is off bounds with him unless it's family. But also the energy that I'm being gathered to talk about is to get straight to, it's like pulling out a root, a toxic, like a dead root, getting straight to the heart of the matter. So he wants to talk about himself and some of the situations. I don't know whether this is written about, I don't know, but I'm just going to share with what I've been told, which was that the main purpose of him being down here was to protect and to lead and actually to fight. But he said, look, we go up and we atone and we see everything that we've done. You're now having the opportunity to do this now. You're of a different ilk and a different era. But he said, trust me, we have gone up and we have united on the other side. Because there is still an emotional charge around this, guys. I am not in any doubt, because before I even started this video, I started it twice. On the third time looking, I know like 3 for me is a lucky number, but it's like my heart was very heavy and it was just the energy around it. There's so much energy around it. That is very heavy. So there's no denial about this, because he's not in denial and I'm certainly not in denial. So what he's saying to me was the cause was always about the land. It was never about religion. But then as it got out of control, it became about religion. So the old adage, divide and conquer, was at play, just like it is now on the earth plane now. So the same story is playing out, but it's just in different clothing. Is it the Emperor's clothes? It's like with different clothing. It's dressed up in a different format, but it's the same way. So you know, humanity, and this is just what I'm getting from spirit in general now, not him, humanity still has a fair way to go before we can unite on that level. But we're on the way. This is what transformation looks like in our world. It's chaotic, and he's brought the transformation card out here as well. So what he is saying to me, and this is the energy that I get around him, is like a grand master chess player, okay? So it was like using the power of a very intelligent mind. He was a diplomat. He was a Libran. The diplomats, natural diplomats, they're always searching for balance. And he's saying that he had a plan. He actually had a plan, and what he was doing is, if you think about the game of chess, or say like in poker, they're watching their opponent, and what he was doing was he was figuring out his opponent. But he's saying he got sick of the bloodshed. He could see it was just going around in a circle. But he's saying you have to go back to the source of the problem to understand it, to heal it. And what he's saying is that if you take the only shirt off a man's back, if you take the land where he can provide for his clan, his homestead, so where he keeps his chickens and his cow, and I'm being shown like India, and I'm being shown other places around the world. If you take the only thing that the person has for their basic survival needs, like if you think about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, water, shelter. Shelter is warmth, isn't it? It's the same thing, where a person can actually live off the land. They can actually survive off what nature has provided to them. When you take the bare bones away, you leave a person with no other option. And that's what they were fighting for in those days. And so it was actually never about religion in the early days. And I know some people might not agree with me here because they might bring it emotionally back to, he's just saying, just don't go there. We need to focus on the matter at hand. So there's no it's just like, no, it's focus on the matter at hand. So when you take the only thing that a person has left that allows them to live, you give them no other choice. You give them, and he was fighting for that. He could sit, but he's also saying that in those days, they didn't only pillage the land, they also took away the dignity of the women. So there was a sense of superiority of coming in and saying, we'll have this and we'll do this and you will work for us and you will bring in, I'm just saying this with neutrality, guys, because this is just the way you've got to work with spirit. You bring in and you take away the innocence of somebody's. He's been very careful about the words. He's using the word dignity, and you think that you're entitled to this superiority. It was like they were protecting that as well. They were fighting for that and they're protecting for that. But he's saying that as the journey really, you know, I would call it ramped up. I'm just saying a lot of flurry of activity. That's when he knew this wasn't going to get. He needed a game plan, and actually had a game plan, but not everybody was in agreement with it. He actually used the brilliance of his mind, his intuition, and he was studying his opponents. And actually, his plan was to work with them. He was ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time in that day. But at that point, people just wanted an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and he had a different approach. And when I kind of tuned into, well, how was that? We know that you got shot and killed, and it was like he was lured to his death. It was like I was lured to my death. Because he said at a certain point, it's not that you let your guard down, you have to break the cycle. I think this is what he was trying to do, was to break the cycle of bloodshed, because all it does is it creates more But he's saying this is what people don't want to look at. They don't want to look at the original sin, he's calling it. It's like the original sin of where this happened, because it means that people have to face themselves. They have to face themselves. And, you know, it wasn't, people might see that he was doing it for glory and whatever, but he said, no, he said, I was doing it for my people, I was doing it for my community. And he said, and they knew that. That's why they got behind him. But there were a couple of people around him that didn't want him to go through. They felt like it was a weakness. What I'm hearing is sleeping with the enemy. You know that saying, I'm in bed with the enemy. But actually what he's saying, the greatest spies and chess players, like they're 10 steps ahead, and that's what he gives me. That's what he's shown me, was I was 10 steps ahead. I had a plan. If they had just been willing to break the cycle of, but tensions were running high and solutions dry, it was, you know, in their way, which, I mean, I can't even imagine, and I don't want to get stuck into that past, but I think it's just something that he wants to say, because he said in principle it's something that we can apply. And he said what maybe some people didn't see was that the two parties have to come to the table and they have to find the common ground. But what he's saying is he had a plan, a long-term plan to pull the power back to the people, because he's saying the power is with the people. He said we had the power of the people in those days. And he said, I was the original true freedom fighter. And he said, like many that spoke up, they took me out. They take out the true people that speak up. But he said no more. The veil has been lifted so far now that, but he said, I think this is where I'm getting into this conversation now about in the here and now, about power to the people. And people have now feel that it's easier to be to collude with, I'm just going to say it, the dark, because it's easier, because they don't have to face themselves, they don't have to inconvenience themselves, they don't have to put themselves on the line. For him, it was non-negotiable. He did not have a price for his integrity. He just didn't have a price. And I think this is why he's so revered in Irish history. But he's saying the politicians made it about religion because it was a way that they could keep the separation alive. So then it becomes about us and them, me and not us. It's them and us. We're separate camps. The hatred and the separation and the exclusion, it's like a corrosion. It corrodes slowly away, and then people are born into it. But he said it was always about the land, and it will always be about the land. And he's saying this is what you are going to start to see, is the poison has to come up from the soil. It has to come out. Sooner or later it has to come out. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I feel that's what we're missing out with this power play now. It's got so out of hand because people can't even see themselves in order to come to the table. The viciousness of the world that we have to acknowledge is coming out now like a poison, is that you have to look at yourself to say, well, when I am willing to sit there and look at somebody's mother or child to be slain in vain, which is for and severe pain, and I believe that's in response to protect my land, and we think that's okay. With like the energy he gives me is that we're so lucky now. We're so lucky with what we've got in our lives. In those days they had nothing, so to fight was the only other option. and it was always about the farmers and their land. It was always about taking away what was, because Ireland has always been such a fertile country, and it always will be if we look after it. And it's its jewel in its crown. And again, this is a message about integrity, it's sovereignty, isn't it? So if you think about being a sovereign, it's the crown, not in the sense that we think on the earth, in the intellectual realm, in the spiritual, emotional realm. Actually, on a psychological level as well, it's our own sovereignty, is our right to choose, our freedom to choose, our freedom, our independence, our ability to make choices for ourselves, and them not being tethered by an outside agency. Who are you giving your outside agency to? Right. So where are we up to now on time? Okay, gosh, I don't know. I can't believe where the time's gone. This is going to be a bit of a long video, guys. Right, so I want to bring this in now to the energy of today and what he showed me. So this message about look at what's in front of your eyes at the moment, okay? And it was, so what he said to me was, look at the information being proliferated. And then I got this feeling like I was under a spell. It's like, well, what am I being led to believe? Have I dropped down into my soul, and is this what's true and sovereign? Or is it just what I'm being told? I'm giving outside agency to certain leaders, individuals. Okay. So he's saying, if he's here for the cause and the land, for the people, their birthright, their freedom, and one of Ireland's strengths is its wildness, its compassion, and their love for the land. And he kept saying, what is the price that you pay when you give your freedom away? Okay. And he's saying, look, you can come up with all the excuses in the world to say your reasoning behind, and I'm going to say the word linked to these passports and these, you can't come in, you're not allowed in unless you've had whatever, you've had your JAB. But what he's saying is, remember what I said earlier on about the stories of afar, of historical situations. And what he brought me back to, first of all, was the 60s, when in the UK, our father's generation went over to find work, because it was either that or just not survive. So they came over and they got jobs as labourers, as builders, jobs. Some of them hadn't even had any formal schooling finished. And they built a lot of the roads in the UK. And in the early days, in the 60s, there were the signs in the pubs which were no, and again, guys, I'm just stating history here. I'm not saying this to insult anybody. And the signs were no blacks, no dogs, and no Irish. And he's saying, look what's happening right in front of your eyes. It's now happening on your watch. It's happening on your watch, on your land. And again, it's allowing this separation energy to exist. And the collusion is agreeing to participate. It's like an obliteration of people's rights. And by pacifying it or supporting it, you're colluding. And that's not even, and I know he was known as a negotiator, but it's like, this is a non-negotiable situation here, can't you see that? And I don't think people are expecting this. I think they just want to be told, yeah, you're doing the right thing. You are, you're being told what to do. You're being told what to do. Are you listening? What, and dropping into your soul and into your sovereign right? If you, the only thing I can say to you is, when I drop into this myself, okay, is that any rule that excludes a group of people is never it's never ethically or morally in the light. It's just not. Whatever justification and excuse that you may have, it's just not right. And let's not go into the hows, wheres and whats and say to me, oh, the narrative and this. He's just getting straight to the point here, guys. He's getting straight to the grassroots level. Pull up the toxic weeds. Okay. And he's just saying that he works with people that want to find their voice, people that need to negotiate. So if you've got a legal case, or you've got something that requires diplomacy, or you need to create peace within the family unit, he works with judges. He works with anybody who struggles with public speaking. So if you're struggling to find your voice, what you believe in, what you stand for, and you find yourself in a web and a sea of opinions, he's just, because he's got this like mentorship energy about him. Yeah, and he's just, as I say that, he's using, what is it? Is it the cloche? What do they use in the courts? He's like doing this with it. What else do I want to say? Yeah, it's just saying there's pain on both sides. Both sides have to be willing to break the cycle of bloodshed. They have to be willing. You can't coax another side. If they can both find the common ground together, peace can be found and navigated together. And he's saying that willingness to forgive is actually an act of strength and letting go. Now, I asked him about the whole political arena, and what he kept showing me was puppets on a string. And he said to me, are they talking to an audience or for an audience? That will give you your answer. Who can really put the people first and not in the way where there's an agenda attached to it. It's got to be clean and it's got to be clear. Because he's saying people that really, so if you think about in history, you think about all the people that got taken out for whatever reason. They were really powerful, whether it was music, whether it was as a public figure, and it was always linked to truth and peace. So they were revealing something. It will all come out again about Michael Jackson as well. That's all going to come out. But there's so much to this. It runs very deep. A river runs deep. It's not straightforward. There's like loads of different branches off it, like a tree. I'm just saying. But like he was the same. He got taken out because they saw how powerful he really was. And I've got to say this about him, his energy field. I've never connected with a spirit with such a beautiful energy. I mean, they've all got beautiful energy from the spirit world, but it's so powerful. I mean, his energy is like swoon. I sat in it for a few hours and it was just so beautiful, and it was just an absolute pleasure and a joy. He's just saying like, the pleasure is mine. He's such a gentleman. Like he would fight for the dignity of our daughters. He's got that such a strength of, it's not righteousness. It's like, I know what's right and I will fight for it. And I feel like there's a heavy heart around this. It's like, well, who is fighting for Ireland? Okay. So yes, he was talking about this around politics. So what he showed me was like this, an old technique of like positive and then negative reinforcement, and it being like, we'll give you this and then we'll take it away. We'll give you this and then we'll take it away. He was just showing that to me. And he was just saying that, we get taken out because it's too threatening to those. in using like a dark power to having to constantly use mechanisms of fear and control in order to stay on top. If a structure is truly democratic or meritocratic, it's not built in fear and withholding, with improper reinforcement, he called it. An operant conditioning model. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. It's like it keeps people on a reward cycle. Take it away, we'll give it back. And actually, the solution to the problem is us. We are the solution, us sticking together. And he said, how can you stand back and see somebody being excluded that you love? And I know that's going to really trigger a lot of people, but he's saying just go down to get back to the basics, get back to the basics. And he's saying I can hear all the arguments, but the fact is you drop down and you go into that place of, it's like he's just bringing me into the gut, and it's just like the place of power of knowing what's true, of knowing what truly really empowers a person. Because actually, if you drop into all of this in your body, you'll get all the answers as well that you've been asking for. But what he's saying is it's easier to use this, he's calling it like a combatant model, where, well, if I follow you and you tell me what to do, then when you're wrong, I can blame you. Whereas with sovereignty, you don't even do that. You just go, because you don't need to break the law to be sovereign. You're just sovereign. But what's happening now is that it's just showing me like a mirror being placed in front of a mirror. So we're not seeing, some people are not choosing to see what's really going on in front of their eyes. And he's saying some people have everything to gain, which is to remain the same. And he's saying the status quo is comfortable because it feathers their nest. It doesn't ask more of them. And it keeps them in their bubble of denial. Right. I think I've mentioned this about the stories from the past. And he's saying the true stories, because he was saying to me about the inflections in some of the stories that are written. He's saying the people that really knew me were my family and my clan, and they've protected me, and I protect them from afar as well. But he said I'm never more than a whisper away. But he doesn't want to, you see, it's not good or bad. He's very neutral about it because he welcomes speech, and especially the written word. But he's saying the true historical stories have been passed down from the ancestors who were there. He's saying discern what you believe is the truth, because this acknowledges and directs the quality of the choices that you make in your own lives. Again, he's not here to tell you what to do, he's just here to present the truth. But he brought this word through, proliferation, which is linked to biology in cells, which I can't help but think it's like, if you think about the bio system now of our bodies, and what we're evolving as a species. And I think the word proliferation is linked when it comes to it's like a massive growth of cells, which you see a lot in cancer. And I think he's making a link there to the information that's being proliferated. It's all the same narrative. And he's saying this distracts from the heart of the matter of what we've got to go and deal with. You see, he was willing to face everything. He's willing to face the cabal. But he was getting, there's this saying, getting in bed with the enemy. It was almost like he was getting close to them to outsmart them. But I don't know whether that's ever been collated, but that's what he said to me. Right, I'm just having a look now, see if I've written anything else down that I want to share with you. Yeah, it's just saying like power to the people. If only you knew how much power you had in numbers. Holding leaders and people to blame is the easy option out because it stops people from taking back control of their life. But actually, if we look at, I think that's something maybe that we've lost, but what he's saying is if you see it now in your world where if you think about if something goes viral, the power of the people to affect change and to influence companies to make decisions. I mean, it's good and bad, isn't it? But I think the turning point now is there's more to like when we can take off our masks for good is when we also take off our masks metaphorically. And that's linked as well. He kept showing me that. But I feel his words are empowering. And he was a powerhouse because he was a number 8. Right, okay. Is there anything else that you want to... So he wants me to just break it up with something I've just written down before I started, which is something he gave me. So he said, I fought for my country for all and sundry. What is the price that you pay when you give your freedom away? Let us be sat with our wisdom and stories old. Let there be awakening with clarity and unveiling, from when we become old, withered and cold. We know we have sold, given over and rolled. To be a slave or follower be, then the fool is me. Heart of gold, weather of cold, emerald isle of everlasting hold. So just some of his words there that he wanted to share with us. But this is what they were trying to fight for our freedom, was for the birthright, the Irish, of their land. But he's also given me a link to the land, and that land not being, you see, nature will always try to balance. It's a law, it's a universal law that nature will always bring itself back into balance. And I think with the land, the question about the land is always going to come up. There will never be true rest until the land is when it's back in balance. And I don't have the answer for that. I feel like it's about, I don't want to use the word correction, that's very strong. But he's just showing me where land has been taken in a specific area, where there was a lot of poverty, and then there was a lot of money that came in from outside. And he's saying it was like the ultimate, what people don't understand is they don't understand the culture. Like, they go in and they invade and they think that they can just take over. But what he's saying is that what they don't understand was that it was like a kick in the teeth. It was like the ultimate insult to come in and say I am royal. Sorry guys, the music's just gone off, so I just need to turn that down and you'll be able to hear me. So basically there is a link here to you're saying an understanding things that have never been discussed. It's like pulling all the weeds out. But say like I'm royal, and then I come in and I've got all this money, and then I say, right, I'm going to plonk myself here with a massive huge house, and all around me is an area which, because I'm so ignorant, I don't realise it's been steeped in poverty forever, because there's been no support given apart from the local community. He's just shown me a scenario like this, and I think some of you will put two and two together what this is. He's saying we've got big hearts, we're really able to forgive, but forgetting is another thing. Right, okay. So I feel like it's getting quite pensive here now. It's getting a bit serious, but I think that I'm just kind of going in. I feel like he could be quite inward, and he'd have to gather his thoughts, but he was planning a lot in his head. I feel I could sit with his energy for hours and I would never get bored, honestly, I really wouldn't. Right, I think I'm going to go to the questions now, guys. So I'm going to put the camera down and then I'm going to come back to this. Right. So my stomach is rumbling because I'm getting a bit hungry. It's like 3:30. How can I be hungry? Right, let's put the camera down. So there he is in his beautiful glory. Let's have a glass of water. So there's no rushing with him. There's no sense of urgency. It's like, no, you do everything. Like, I just feel like I'm being mentored or something. Right, so one of you asked me, when will people wake up? Now, I'm going to focus this question in Ireland because I think it was asked by somebody in Ireland. If I'm wrong, I apologise, but that's the sense I'm getting from your question. So you asked about people waking up. Okay. A lot of strength coming through these cards. Right, okay. So when will people wake up? Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm not. So these cards I'm using, guys, are the Vision Quest, because I felt they were very linked into land and people of the land. So I'm just going to clear that away now on my screen. So hopefully you can see that. So what we've got here is, if you can hear squeaking, it's not me, it's actually my chair, so apologies. So what's come out here is the Father of Water. Hopefully you can see this. Let me put that down. So we've got Father of Water, we've got 2 of Earth, which is changed, 2 of Water, Love, and 2 of Fire, Will. So the way that these cards work are, Water is Cups, Earth is Pentacles, Fire is Wands. What else have I got here? And then they've got some other like major arcana together with their own additional cards. That's why I love them. They've adapted them to their own way. So these are, I think, South American cards. I absolutely love them. So, because some other tarot I love, but I just wasn't getting them for this. Right. So what I get with this is, when will people wake up? Well, it's about leading by example. Okay, so we've got the Father of Water there. So the Father of Water will be the King of Cups. So this is somebody who is empathic, who is resilient, who is very present with their emotions, who rocks up, who is emotionally available. But actually I get a mixture of energies here, but it's about us coming together as a community. So again, when I think about Christ consciousness and Jesus, forgive them for they do not know what they do. And everybody's playing a part, and we might have ours, and it might feel that we're stronger on purpose at the moment and that they're not. So the two of fire here is just because other people haven't woken up yet. Yes, it's frustrating. We acknowledge that. We absolutely hear you. We agree with you. However, that shouldn't affect your journey, because the two of earth and change. So what they're saying here is the change is inevitable. So actually you can either wake up on your own terms, or you can get woken up. And I don't mean that in a fearful way. It's not at all like that. It's just that the message here is you've got Son of Water here. So this is seeing things. This is an offering, but it's an opportunity is what I get with this. And also the card of torment. And what this means is, I'm just going to put the camera up. So what it means is effectively, people are going to wake up at a certain point, but they're going to wake up through a series of being squeezed. So it's a bit like, I can't really give an example. They just keep showing me, like, you're wringing out a towel, like wringing out your, and there's no more water and there's no more water, and it gets to a point you just think you run ragged and you have to go inward. So what a lot of people will always say with spirit, well, why are all these heinous acts happening? Why are all these situations occurring? But actually, if you think, until humanity wakes up to the fact of the heinous acts that humanity can actually cause, then people will stop that kind of behaviour. Okay? So it's almost like we need, the heinous acts are there because for some people that's the only way that they are going to wake up. What can we do? So this is a question for you, Michael, with your mentorship now, your mentorship program. What can people do to help themselves in this situation? Other people haven't woken up around them. Okay. Well, actually, he's saying it's none of our business. It's actually saying it's none of our business. Okay, well, what I'm hearing is, because the cards that have come out, obstacles, time, indecision, let go and visualise with your intuition. But around the time and indecision and let go is distractions, okay? So I'm just going to show you this on the camera. So obstacles, do not dwell on how you're going to surmount obstacles presently in your way. Time can be seen to be both linear and a spiral. Circle back to explore concepts from the past and create the future. I'm getting it's more on don't waste your time on obstacles. Indecision, decide not to make a decision at this time. This will be a constructive, valid and useful decision. Can you see where this is going? It's like, don't direct your energy onto why these obstacles are happening. What, if anything, can be done to let go of what is standing in your way? See, what I heard was actually maybe you have a part to play in, by focusing back on your own path, will actually is more likely to inspire this Two of Cups, this Two of Water, of this coming together, of people reaching out to you when they see that you're just going for it in life. So visualize. When we develop our abilities to visualize, we can manifest maximum influence on the experience of our reality. Intuition. Allow the limitless power of your unconscious mind to answer your problem by using symbols, memories, and hunches. And distractions. When you're trying to solve a problem, you will often be tested by distractions. So I think with this, when it comes to waking up, we've got to lead by example. We've actually been given the baton for a while to lead the way, to way shower and to guide. And that's not by telling anybody what to do. It's not actually controlling anything. It's actually focusing back on ourselves is more likely to create that polar pull from other people. Because sooner or later, what's happening on the world at the moment, so if you think about the climate, and you can look at all the reasons on why it is the way it is, but we are in a predicament, and a predicament doesn't really have a solution because it's not a problem. So with a predicament, the way that you heal a predicament is you change, but you change internally. So actually the so-called way through this is us, by us changing what we do. But again, it's going to take quite a bit of, it's when things get taken away from people, do they realise, well, actually, again, what is the price of this freedom? What are you willing to give up? If you drop down into your body and ask the decision of why you are making what you're doing, is it in your truth? And you will know, your body will give you your answers. But actually, it's easier to seek outside agency, isn't it? But you see, a good reader or a healer will only acknowledge or validate or support you in making that decision because you already know it. That's why when you get the information, you'll often go, well, I knew that. Or they'll tell you something that you, well, it's not that you're not ready to hear it, that might trigger you because you're like, well, no, I don't want to do that because it's asking me to change and I don't want to change. So I don't know that answer, whether that's answered for you, but that's what he's doing the cards. I've handed over to him, the maestro here. But this is the thing about the whole passports thing in Ireland is that people will go, oh, it's what we've got to do, it's what we've been told to do, and everybody's proliferating this same narrative. And this is also, it's the separation game because it works, it keeps people in conflict. And if we are at loggerheads, we've got something to focus on. Whereas actually, and it doesn't solve the problem because it's not solving the problem. We know that, it's obvious. And you can argue about the numbers, but they speak for themselves now. So the thing is, it only takes a few people to stand up and rip up and go, no, I'm not doing it, and to stick together. And there's always an alternative method. Okay, there's always another way around it, because people proliferate this argument using the same words he gave me about, well, we can't do it because of this and we can't do it because of that. And again, drop down into your body, go into your soul, convene with your soul, with where your moral compass is, where your truth is, and your truth will tell you. It's not always like, look, if it matches what's going on outside, great. But that's not what I'm being told here. That's not what the message is here. It's not what I'm seeing. To exclude a group or a section of society on whatever basis is never okay. It's never okay. It's selective exclusion. It's not what they fought for. It's not what they fought for. And yes, you might be one of the lucky ones where none of this is affecting you, but how can you actually say that it's affecting everybody? I think when people say that, it means that it's not upsetting, inconveniencing their life. But what Michael is saying is that, well, we could have all gone and said that in our day. We could have all gone, it's somebody else's problem. It's somebody else's problem to sort. But the delusion lies in what people are being told, the one way how they are supposed to fix it. It's their responsibility. And I think that's become inverted. I'm going to pull some cards on that. I'm going to ask him about the passports and the cards. Passports in the cards. Yeah. Passports in Ireland. Passports in Ireland. Okay. Inquest. Small Medicine Wheel. Passports in Ireland. there's a nod really to the tribes here as well. Willpower and truth. Well, I think he's spoken here. So the cards are telling more of a deeper story here. So I'm going to put the camera down again. Okay. So free associates, this is about freedom. Okay, go deeper. It's not about seeing what's on the surface and what you're being told to do. Willpower, okay. So use your willpower to bravely overcome thoughts of compromise and defeat. And truth. This is what is the heart of the matter. An honest desire to know and speak the truth produces beneficial results. And I feel like with some people, there's a wound around standing up for the truth, even it's at a cost to themselves. There's that element there. So what I get with these cards is we've got the Ace of Air here, which is the Ace of Swords, which is, for me, this is really like a card of cutting through the crap. And we've got the Grandfather energy here, which is wisdom. So this is around this whole situation, is to cut through the crap and to use your wisdom. So we've got Mother Earth here. She's around this, she's overseeing this, but also this is what this all comes down to, is our environment. It's all interlinked. We've got the Son of Air, which has come up upside down. So this would be like, is this the Page of, I'm just going to look at this card actually, is this the Page of Wands or is the Page of Swords? Because some of these cards, they don't have the same messages. Father of Air, yeah, Son of Air. Right, okay, so this is what, this came out upside down. So this is the urge to be free, vehemence, restlessness, inner conflict, mental agitation, the vain attempt to fulfill ego desires. Well, that speaks for itself. So this is the card in the middle. So this is the central thing at bay here. The liberation phase, where one breaks away from one's own habitual drought patterns and those of others too, is one of the most important steps in growing up. This card is upside down. So you take it upside down. This phase cannot be bypassed. With unflinching clarity, you have to recognise that struggling with your own inner world, your own phantoms, projections and identifications will get you nowhere. Once you have seen this for yourself, the inner battle ends. You realise it was you who projected the movie now playing on your internal screen. The outward manifestation of this card is thoughts when not supported and tempered by the heart, are not endowed with positive life-giving power. Right now, it is best to refrain from carrying your misgivings out into the world or involve more people in your resistance fight. Accept the message of this card and ask yourself what exactly you keep on fighting within yourself. Slowly learn to stay centered even in the midst of chaotic activity. Learn to rest in the stillness within, the silence that clarifies all things for you. So this is surrounded by the Vision Quest card and Mother Earth. So it's like, what are you searching for in your environment? What have you bypassed? So this is not a card of freedom because it's inverted. So this is not the whole situation with the passports and the tiered society. It's not freedom. It's not truth. That is the Vision Quest is saying that this is the heart of the matter, that we're searching. At the end of the day, we all want to be sovereign and free, but not at the expense of another human being. So what's interesting is I'm going to just read these cards as they are, so I'm not going to read the meaning. So the small medicine wheel is like, it's like the world, it's the opportunity to end a cycle. It's there to all of us, not just one person. The days of having the one person to lead us are over, okay? And I think a lot of this is we sometimes don't know how to navigate this. How do we do it together? But this is the turning of a cycle of, are we going to go down? Are we going to stay in this energy line? Or are we going to enter the tunnel that's going to be available to us right now? We're going to enter a new tunnel, which is that we are choosing a pathway that involves everybody. And a solution that involves everybody, regardless of what we are being told to do. And actually, this card came out around this, which is ending this 10 of air and negative thinking. And I have to just say, look, this is about the vultures coming in. Look, this is the fear of lack. It's also there's not enough to go around. It's like, well, if you don't do this, I can't get this. That's the type of energy that's here. My success, my money, my stuff is dependent on you complying, which is taking us away from all of this, because actually the victory card is upside down. So this is saying, you know, we need to turn this on its head. We need to not eradicate this, but this is what we need to heal in ourselves and others. Now, this is what's available to us, but there's a lot of doubt around it. It says people fear the light, you see. So there's doubt around the Ace of Cups moment, that we can all be free and be ourselves. The Nine of Water, which is joy, and the Six of Water, which is pleasure. So this is like the cup runneth over, isn't it? The energy around this. But I did ask about the passport. So, I mean, the thing is, what the programming and the dark side of the illusion, and Buddha talked about illusions, that sometimes we have to see it in the light, sometimes we have to see it in the dark, it's all illusion, is that we think that there's this one way, but we haven't thought that there might be another way, which isn't about what we're being shown right now. And it means going deeper to the truth. And again, it's the nod to the land. Look, it's all to do with the land and nature, getting back to our true selves, being able to face ourselves in the mirror and looking at our choices and saying, like, if we make our choice from the right place, great. But the energy that I'm getting is to feel that you make a choice that excludes somebody. How can that be a choice based in love? It's still based in fear, isn't it? You can't come in, because if you come in, you might give it to me, when actually the people that are all there are giving it to each other. Sorry guys, but that's just what I'm getting. You know, don't shoot the messenger. Right, okay, so hope that answered the question about waking up as well, because it's all interlinked. But also be proud of yourself, because I feel that this is another thing that he wants to talk about, is that, see, the Lovers is on top of the pack. It's also to do with choice, the choices that we make. What risks are we willing to take? So he's just giving me more stuff now, but sometimes I've got to sit here and just let it come in. Yes, so something that he wants to say as well about Ireland is that there's going to be a lot of the Irish talent returning home. So Ireland has this possibility to be a front runner, not that it would do it for this reason, but with when it comes to the environment. So they've put their toe in the water, but there's more to come there. But there's a lot of brilliant minds returning back into Ireland that have gone away, because it's like the green fields pull them back. The magic and the mystic energy of the land pulls them back, because I think when people travel, and it's brilliant to travel and it's brilliant to go away, Ireland is a power centre of energy, okay, for healing, for people to build a good life for themselves. It's a Taurian country, but also it has an ability to nurture you, the land, and most people probably know this subconsciously, but might not realise this consciously. Many of you probably do, I don't know. I'm not trying to put thoughts in your head here. But after doing a load of healing work on the land there's still more healing on the land to come that we're going to hear about in the next few years as well. Like, Ireland is going through Uranian transformation, and Uranian energy is very much to do with it's to do with renewal and to do with revolution. So Uranian energy, the planet Uranus, is all to do with explosive energy, but it's to do with change. So it's going through like a metamorphosis island, and it's going to continue for a bit longer. But it's about going back to its originality. So what that means for you, I don't know. It could mean different things. But if you've ever travelled and you've gone to places like Hawaii, especially like Hana, which is on the far end coast of, which island is it now? I've been there. It's like something of another world. Uluru is another place in Australia, a power centre. Ireland's got loads of these power centres within it. Glastonbury's another one in England, but it's a different type of energy. But Ireland has it's why it attracts many mystics and healers, people that get inspired by the land to write and paint. But I feel like there's a lot of the daughters and the sons returning back to Ireland in the coming years, because I feel that because the education system is one of the best in the world, but it's also very stable in its own right. And actually that can also draw people in, but it can also spit them out a bit, because it's a bit like it's too slow and it's too... But actually that's usually that people that need healing they need a bit of consistency, because nature is law and it's consistent and it's always going to rebalance. And Ireland is full of nature. And I think it brings that gift to people when they live there. I think you can feel it. Talk to the land, connect to the land. That's what he's saying to me. Look after the land, mind the land. It's on your watch now. Mind the land. Right, somebody else asked me about Brexit, so I'm just going to check my message here. So I'm going to pull some cards on this as well, just to see what he wants to say about Brexit. Right, this is the first feeling I'm getting, is what he's giving me is giving me is giving me this energy of being an afterthought. Just going to say it. UK seeing Ireland as an afterthought. And actually the problem being, I don't even know anything about politics, guys. I'm not even up to date with it. I'm really not. All I know is that I have heard from the UK and Ireland that you can't ship things now, but you can ship some stuff and you can't ship other things. But the feeling I'm being offered, is that it's like Northern Ireland is a priority before Ireland. It's like Ireland's an afterthought. It's like, no, we just need to shoo you on. We need to get the issue. We need to sort out Northern Ireland. And it's actually quite interesting. He's saying that what was invaded and taken is now becoming the issue when it comes to the separation of boundaries and land. It's become the eyesore of the whole. It's almost like we've got a third country now. It's like a foreign body. We don't know what to do with you. We just want to eject you, because it's just, and I don't mean this in no disrespect. My best friend is living there, but it's a bit like the conversations that have been had. I feel like there's one particular politician who stood up for Ireland and he said we're an afterthought. I don't know if any of you heard this, but this is what I'm being told. But I'm just feeling like the UK just want it signed off, so it's another problem they don't have to think about. It's very low down the list on their priorities, is what I'm hearing. And that's just the energy I'm feeling, guys. But what I'm being told is to focus on the wealth that you have now. So actually, this whole situation, I think this is what the short-term pain for long-term gain meaning is all about, is that Ireland has so many amazing resources within its own shores. And actually that this whole eyesore, if I can call it that, is going to precipitate entrepreneurship and the creation of the resources instead of shipping them out and bringing them in, if you know what I mean. But also, I'm also hearing that Ireland can play this to its advantage, because Ireland also ships a lot of products to the UK that the UK now is having to bring in from afar. The feeling I'm getting is that a lot of people in the UK are actually not really happy about this. They're showing me meat products actually for some reason, but they're bringing me to a link down to France, the boat link to France, and they're saying that this is a way to open this up, because Europe is a great link, it's a great ally with Ireland. Obviously it's still in the European Union, but also this is another shipping route that can possibly open up even further. But also I have to say, with it's bittersweet, because the energy I'm getting with the European Union is that the energy that I'm getting is there's a lot more money going out to the bureaucrats than it should be going out. Yeah, it's so interesting, the cards that have come out. Whoa, the Ace of Earth. So actually that card came out. Look at the Ace of Earth card. This is like abundance in all its forms. Hope you can see that. It's got a big giant corn, but that's a nod to I think, is it Mexico, where they grow a lot of corn, they eat a lot of corn. They make the tortillas from it. A lot of their food, it's a staple. It's a bit like, right, okay, so it's a bit like a nod to the potato in Ireland, but the corn in South America. But there's some kind of link here with like the tribe coming together, community. I think this is why he wanted these cards, because all the other cards were a bit like woo-woo and out there, and, you know, beautiful Priestess of Light cards, but these seem to be the ones that wanted to be used. But the balance card is the next card. So there really is a link here to Ireland. Actually has, it's got strong, it's a very fertile country, and actually, yes, can you see, so Ace of Earth, I need to show you these cards, balance, and then inner strength has come out, and then security. So I mean, do we need, and then growth, I mean, God guys, and then completion. Sorry, I know I'm doing these cards really quick. But can you see, there's a lot of, Ireland actually has what it needs. So yes, it's inconvenient for the short term, guys, but I think this is going to encourage maybe the production and manufacture of things on more of a home base, because that's actually going to fuel its own economy. But also I just see the port, I can just see, so like you've got Ireland like this, I can just see, I'm seeing a line from the west coast or the southwest coast, not the east. It's from that side, from the west side, but at the bottom, maybe from Cork, I don't know, going straight down to France. But this is interesting because I asked about Europe and European Union, and can you see the Daughter of Water here? Like water is flooding out from her power centre. So there's a power leak, and I'm actually feeling that this is to do with resources. But we've got Mother of Fire here, so and the Medicine Man. So I'm going to say this, that I feel like this is going to come to light. I feel like this is going to come to light because the Clown is at the bottom of the pack, and this is to do with bureaucrats. They're still skimming from the top. They're skimming away, like skimming money. I hope they don't take this video down now, but you know, the truth is the truth. You can't censor it, guys, can you? But you see the foxes in the background, it's cunning. All will be revealed. All is yet to be revealed. And then I'm getting a link to Holland now as well. I don't know if Holland are going to be linked to this and the uncovering of it. But I'm getting a link with this, that Ireland is paying more money into Europe than what it should be doing. Yeah. Right, okay. Yes, so with Brexit, I feel that you've got the resources in front of your face, not in the way that you want. We've got so conditioned, you see, to having everything like that, and everything comes from China. But a big part of our sovereignty is, yes, we've got to work together. It's not about one country being an island and being separate. If anything that's told us about this whole last 18 months is we have to work together, because what we found is all these separate different rules and regulations, it actually causes chaos. And actually all we're just seeing is all these big waves come and go, and what they're saying, reporting to work, hasn't really been working. It seems like Sweden are the only country that seems to have got on top of it. I could be wrong there. Yeah, clarity. 6 of theirs come out. There you go. Right, okay. Yeah, and what's on top of the pack? Fear. Fear. Or God forbid you'll say the truth. God forbid you'll empower somebody. But that's what truth does, is it empowers people. Right. Right, so what else do you want me to say? I'm just going to go through my little script of what he gave me of a few things. Yeah, so he said about this to me. He said, many people have lost their way because they have become enamoured by what others say. Will you choose the path of resistance and persistence, short-term pain for long-term gain? Okay. Right, okay, so this leads me on to the bit where we close down. So when he talks about going back to the land, the cause is the land, he also is talking about going back to our true nature. So if we think about Ireland and what it's most known for is its green land, its emerald green light of the land, and that you never see more than the different shades of green like you do in Ireland, but it has a magic to it, it has a welcomeness, it has its compassion. And he's very proud of what Ireland has had to contend with in recent years. They're coming out of all the scandals, the healing of the land, of the unveiling of the burial sites of the unmarried mothers and the babies that were everything was hidden away in shame and pain. And I think there's going to be more to come around that. I'm actually being brought to like Limerick, where Limerick and Clare are. I don't know what that means, but that's the area of the land I'm being guided towards. But it's not easy to face these things, and this is part of the healing of the land. It's healing the past. And it's honouring people's journeys and what they went through. So there's a real sense of, I just put my hand on my heart and I'm just, be still my beating heart. It's just like this feeling of deep compassion and respect and dignity for these women. He's so proud of his country in facing this, because ultimately what's happening is the collapse of certain organisations, and there's more coming around this, where we're going to see the hold and where the money is. Who holds the purse strings is what I'm hearing. Yeah, and he's also talking about something. He's saying to me not to mention that though on the film, but on film, if you heard me, I mean like the 1970s. He's just saying that that's something that is for another time and another place and another space. Yeah, I get you. Right, okay. So I am just going to read you now a poem that I was really inspired to share with you, which is linked to this moving away from superficiality, being glamoured, being enamoured, delusion and spells, like breaking the spell. And the way that we break a spell is we change our language, but we also drop down into our spiritual gut, and we actually listen and we actually ask, is this real? Am I under a spell? What's my truth? And sometimes that spell can be that I'm not good enough, I'll fail, this is never going to end, this is the only way through this. It's limiting, and sometimes we create spells in our life that we wound ourselves with them. But I think this is the breaking of the spell, is about going back to the land and what our forefathers fought for, to protect, to keep the sovereignty in the land, and to protect it. And there are so many people doing that now in Ireland, with the establishment of organic farms, of sustainability. This is what it looks like in modern times. But also there's this real nod here to what he's saying about, like his energy is it's like swoon energy. You just want to sit in his energy, because he's not only a beautiful man, and I didn't even think about his height, because people call him the big fella because apparently he was really tall, but I just felt his energy, his aura. And I can tell you, it's not an aura that I have ever experienced before, but it's beautiful. And there was a kindness and a softness in it, but there's also a warmth. There's a feeling of being at home and hearth. Maybe that was really important to him, but also of coming home to ourselves. And a big part of his charisma and his attractiveness is that he was his true self. And when we see somebody living their life truly, it's probably one of the most attractive facets of everything about them. So they might not even be aesthetically symmetrical and beautiful like social media expects us to do, part of the program, the filters and all the nonsense. But it's an energy, it's an essence, and that's what his essence is. And unfortunately, I can't bottle it up and post it to you, because if I could, and I would, and I would also really reiterate the love that he has for his country, but also the courage and the strength and the ability of his might to want to come through with trying to almost give us this strength and compassion and love and courage to speak up and be counted and to stand up for freedom is so palpable. And so this poem is linked to the earth and the land, because I feel like with his diplomacy skills, it's like United Nations, like I said with the roses. I've got my roses from the other day and they're just in the side. And I bought these because of the green, white and gold. And I said, I'll take out the pink and the orange. And he's like, no, leave them in, all the colours. We'll have all the colours, everybody's included. Nobody's excluded. And I think this is why he was ahead of his time, because he knew the way through. He knew the solution was actually to come together and to formulate a plan which ultimately brought back the power to the people. But unfortunately, that never ever got to be seen in his day, because he planted the seed, but also what his legacy and what he left behind was to the connection to the land and the community and the people, and how that if we do not have that, we've got nothing. So this is a poem, and it doesn't have a name, but it's also linked to, apparently it's American Heritage Month. I think this is where I found it. So getting back to our true nature, who we really are, our culture and what we identify with. So take a breath offered by friendly winds. They travel the earth, gathering essences of plants to clean. Give it back with gratitude. If you sing, it will give your spirit lift to fly to the stars' ears and back. Acknowledge this earth who has cared for you since you were a dream, planting itself precisely within your parents' desire. Let your moccasin feet take you to the encampment of the guardians who have known you before time, who will be there after time. They sit before the fire that has been there without time. Let the earth stabilise your post-colonial insecure jitters. Be respectful of the small insects, birds and animal people who accompany you. Ask their forgiveness for the harm we humans have brought upon them. Don't worry. The heart knows the way through. Though there may be high-rises, interstates, checkpoints, armed soldiers, massacres, wars, and those who will despise you because they despise themselves. The journey might take you a few hours, a day, a year, a few years, 100, 1,000, or even more. Watch your mind. Without training, it might run away and leave your heart for the immense human feast set by the thieves of time. Do not hold regrets. You must clean yourself with cedar sage or other healing plants. Cut the ties you have to failure and shame. Let go the pain you are holding in your mind, your shoulders, your heart, all the way to your feet. Let go of the pain of your ancestors to make way for those who are heading in your direction. Ask for forgiveness. Call upon the help of those who love you. These helpers take many forms: animal, element, bird, angel, saint, stone, or ancestor. Call your spirit back. It may be caught in corners and creases of shame, judgments and human abuse. Speak to it as you would to a beloved child. Welcome your spirit back from its wandering. It may return in pieces, in tatters. Gather them together. They will be happy to be found after being lost for so long. Make a giveaway, and remember, keep the speeches short. Then you must do this. Help the next person find their way through the dark. And that was by Joy Harjo. I hope I've pronounced your name right. Who is a poet, an American poet, and she's a member of the Mvskoke Nation. I hope I've pronounced that right. So that's I don't even want to call it a Native American tribe because they were the original keepers of the land. But I think there's some symbology here with this in this video today. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for your blessings, for your wisdom, for your support, for your remembrance in your country, your love that is so close to your heart. And we send you home safely on your way. But there's more times for you to come and stay. And just that I've really enjoyed this, guys. I know it's a really long video, but it's, you know, once you're in the energy of somebody who is a great teacher to us all in all forms, and I also acknowledge those people who have experienced deep separation, have lost those through warfare, through fighting, through exclusion, and I send you my love and my prayers your way. And the only way that we heal all of this is we heal it together. Right, guys, I'm going to go because it's getting quite dark here, and he said he wanted to speak in the light. So the dark is nearing a night, so I'm going to head off. But just thank you if you've made it this far with me. Thank you so much. And I'm not going to edit this video. I don't edit my videos. I leave them as they are, all organic. And I will see you soon. And just thank you so much to Michael for his words of wisdom. And I will speak to you soon for the next video. Take good care. Bye-bye.